In this video, we're going to be going over video game price charts. This is a premium feature in ThunderPOS that allows you to get a data feed of video games and of certain game trading cards that will offer you suggested trade and used pricing and save on your data entry in general. So we're going to go through how to use that. But if you do end up wanting to subscribe to video game price charts after seeing this video, you just would contact sales to add it onto your subscription. So we're in a fresh database of ThunderPOS here. This doesn't have very many items. And we do have a subscription to video game price charts. We're going to go under databases and VGPC. And then to grab a copy of the video game price charts database for us to use, you just hit database updates and say yes, and it will download and convert it. From here, after it does this, I'm going to just talk about some of the other functions on this screen while it does this. So in addition to what this is doing now is preparing the database for importing, you can also update all of your existing items that are matched to the item ID in video game price charts through the aspects below. So you can choose to universally adjust the video game price charts pricing if you find that for your store it makes sense to offer a little more or less in trade or to charge a little more or less. You can also, especially if you do that, you may want to use the adjust prices sense. That will make it so that, say, after adjusting everything to be 10% less, something ends up as like $4.53. That would just make it $4.99 as an example. But it would do it across the board. Now that only applies to price. It doesn't apply to the trade-in price. So then once you've done those will affect both items that are being imported and items that are already up in your database if you choose to do an update. Below that, you can choose to update your trade-in prices, used prices, and new prices for items that match. You just check which ones you want to do. You can do a price change report so that you can see it, and then you can update. I'm not going to do that here because the database doesn't actually have any items. There wouldn't be anything that would update anyway. And then you can save the settings so that it just defaults to the same things you've done here the next time you come in. If you don't do that, you'll just have to make sure you refill it in. So there are a couple of settings we will also want to set to use video game price charts to the best effect. The main one is, and this is true for most of the vendor databases, so this is kind of universal advice, under System Administration and Settings, we'll turn on Quick Importing, and then we will use a VGPC. We can choose to import categories from Brie and video game price charts. It uses the same setting for both because typically you would not use both of those databases. They tend to be alternates to each other. There is another option here called Use Alternative Feed for VGPC. That uses a price feed obtained from a major retailer instead of their usual sourcing of online pricing for their suggested prices. But we're going to leave that off for the moment. And we will go here to databases and then vendor database search. This is where we can search by title or by category. So if we just hit search down here, we can just search by title or category, as I said. Now, video game price charts, very recently, we have added those trading cards. For those, the category is the set. So, for example, a recent Magic set is Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. We could just search in the category for Kamigawa, and that would come up. Well, that search actually will also find several other sets. But if we search for, say, Neon, that will come up with just those items. For video games, which is, the data that's been in there a longer time, what a lot of our subscribers are in there for, the category is the console. So, for example, PS4. So if we search for PS4 as the category, we will find PlayStation 4 games. So then if we, we can just kind of flip through here. You can also search, of course, by title. So if we search for like PS4 and then Madden, we'll find, a number of different ones. And then we can choose to import them from here. You can also, more importantly, and probably more commonly, you can also, using that quick import function, scan items to bring them in if you have the box and have the UPC. So you'll notice I'm actually writing down the UPC here for Madden NFL 20. We'll import Madden NFL 19, but then we'll import this one just to show that process. So you can see that we actually get, a suggested new price, suggested used and trade-in pricing. For older sports games, that obviously tends to be pretty low. So we'll just go ahead and save this. But the quick importing allows you in various places in the database to just scan the item. So you can quick import here from inventory, and it will find the item. We will not save it. I will notably cancel this. So we're not actually adding it to our inventory yet. But you see it comes in with, slightly higher pricing because this is a year newer, but still pretty cheap because at this point that's a couple of years out of date. If we go to the register, you'll notice we can also just scan it here and say we're selling it used, or more commonly even taking it in trade. So let's actually mark this as a trade-in. This is not a game that you would be likely to have never had before, but it will actually import it. It will ask if we want to edit it before adding it to the invoice. We'll go ahead and say just yes, just to see it. And then when we save it here, we'll notice that the trade-in price is $1.10. We won't change that, but you could actually edit that. So we'll save and close. Do you want to accept this trade? So because I didn't set a used max, it's actually warning me that I would go over that used max of 0, but we'll accept it anyway. And you'll see it adds it here for $1.10. So kind of the big things to remember. Number one, make sure you turn on quick importing. Number two, if you don't have the number for the item, which in particular, like obviously trading cards are sold in packs. The cards themselves don't have, standardized item numbers. So it's kind of just arbitrary numbers that Video Game Price Charts has assigned them. You can just go under vendor database search and then search for the item. So for a card, we could search for like Black Lotus and we'll find, the various different Black Lotuses. But that's pretty much it. This is a real quick way for you to fill in your data to get kind of reasonable pricing without necessarily having to know exactly how much you need to be charging for something. But there, again, are tools to make adjustments. A lot of times there are, kind of regional differences in what things are worth. If you do have interest in subscribing, I would suggest talking to sales, or if you go through auto licensing, you can also subscribe there. But otherwise, feel free to contact us with any questions about this or any of our other vendor databases.